Welcome to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. In the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter, on top is the firing of the Cruise CEO by GM's Mary Barra, which reports say was at least in part over the issue of whether the focus should be on robotaxis or private ownership of self-driving vehicles. You've got a lot to say here.
Well, yes, and I wanted to highlight Brad's article also because he has a lot to say, and apparently he has some inside information that he's making available, which of course I don't have. I don't like having inside information because then I have to make sure I don't remember it when you and I are talking, Fred. So I don't divulge it. So I'd rather not know. But he has of course a lot of good points.
We're talking about Brad Templeton.
Brad Templeton in his article at Forbes, which he has, he has all. I mean, we fundamentally agree on this. Now, whether or not what inside information he has is what really happened, what didn't happen. We've talked almost from the beginning when we were talking about this technology is that, there are two fundamental markets for this. There's a fundamental market for comfort and convenience features for the business model that the auto OEMs have had for over 100 years, I've even called it chrome and fins. To emphasize that this is in some sense some bling that is on the things that the OEMs have been selling, and that will really help them sell it. And in fact, probably in the end, also it's actually more than bling. It actually provides some more fundamental value than the chrome and fins did in the 1950s and 60s or early 60s to sell cars. At least if the bling actually works here, if the chrome and fins actually works, then in fact it should make the vehicle safer. And really should focus on helping the driver and making sure that the automated emergency braking systems really do work. I mean, that should be the focus of that particular market. But that market is orthogonal. I mean, it's in some sense completely different than the market for driverless vehicles, because the driver, if you're not, the reason you want to do driverless is not for chrome's fins, more bling, hanging around you put it around my head, no, supposedly the reason for doing driverless is because of one, the opportunity to substantially reduce what it costs to provide a ride to somebody. Because, if you're providing it for yourself, then you don't pay yourself, and yourself doesn't cost anything. But if you're providing that same ride to somebody else, then at least the way we've done it, going back to, I guess, the pharaohs or something, you have to have a cart driver, you have to have somebody, you have to have a person, you have to have a living entity, and that living entity requires some sustenance. They require some food, they requires some proper working conditions, they require a opportunity to go to the bathroom, and that's a cost. Whereas if you can replace that entity with a computing stack and gizmos and actuators, they don't have families to feed. They don't have to go to the bathroom. They don't have to work between only these hours and these hours. Mostly, and I'm trying to really point it out. It's different. what you're trying to do there. And you don't have the opportunity to rely on that individual for help. Because, if I have something that's helping me drive the comfort and convenience bling of this market, I'm sitting there, and in fact, it really should be. Society of Automotive Engineers should have only had 2 levels. What they're doing with the other levels is just totally confusing. Okay? The one should be, hey, comfort and convenience, helping me out, but I'm the responsible entity. The other one is, I'm not there. Completely different. And therefore, in the design of the technology and the evolution of that technology, that's got to be completely different. It can't almost work. I mean, it's not going to work perfectly. Nothing does. But it can't be the way that the auto industry has rolled out automated collision avoidance systems. I mean, look at the way they've rolled out that technology. First, they rolled it out. They rolled it out as, we're just going to advise you. We're just going to make noises, beep, beep, beep. We're gonna have a buzzer on your butt, left or right, as to whether or not things coming to the front, or whatever other. They're warnings. And fundamental of those warnings is, I'm there ready to take over and save the day. And they're back there, hey, we warned you, not our problem. Don't talk to us. We warned you. And then when they finally went in there and said, hey, we're going to do more than warning, we're actually going to apply the brakes. I mean, you look at those IIHS videos, I mean, going at 12 miles an hour to a stationary object. I mean, I don't know. It was embarrassing. And if you look at, in some sense, where Tesla still is today with respect to automated emergency braking system, why are they in so much trouble? Why? Because Teslas have continued to hit trees, hit fire trucks, hit stationary objects ahead. They haven't gotten to the automated emergency braking system working well, really well. That's because they're dealing with this market where they have me, they have you overseeing what's going on. And in the fine print everywhere is, hey, you got to be there. Irrespective of what, Elon might tweet or whatever. Okay. So that's that market. This other market, man, it has to start out with not doing that, or that the probability that it does that is, 10 to the minus whatever. Extremely small. And handle not hitting kids, and handle and doing it because I'm not there. Because otherwise, I have no opportunity to offer a ride cheaper. I still have that labor cost in there. Not that I don't want to have employees and pay them living wages and so on, but the number of the amount of mobility that deserves being that expensive is quite small. I reduce that cost, all of a sudden I can provide mobility. That's a market expander. Grows. And of course, if you then look at the driverless piece and you see, okay, who else provides mobility as a service out there? Oh, it's transit companies. Oh my goodness, what do they offer? Well, they offer a couple of stops along a necklace, places at a schedule. And I look at that level of service compared to the level of service that I provide for myself with my car. Oh my goodness, it's like night and day. I can use my car almost any time to almost go anywhere. That's on the one end, and that's over here. On the other end of what the mobility is of service that's being provided for me by a transit company is I can go from and to a handful of places at a handful of times. But Why? And why is that? Well, it's because I've got to put a person in each one of those, whether it's a taxi company, whether it's Uber or Lyft. Oh my goodness, I can go to more places and so on and so forth. But my goodness, I have to have the cost to provide that is enormous. If I can have a computer do the driving, all of a sudden, the limits goes from a string of pearls to maybe a network. The number of places between them. So instead of having the combinatorials of along pearls, I have a network combinatorials. Ooh, that's internet type stuff. That's scale type stuff. And I can do it maybe a lot of the time. Don't care if it's middle of the night, probably.
Sure. So you would like to see crews continue to focus on providing a service.
I think that these two, why I went through all this time and people fell asleep, is because they're very different. And I'm not sure, even though it might seem, well, it's only computers, it's only actuators, it's only technology, it's only sensors, it's only whatever. We should be able to evolve from supposedly what looks like the easy one to the hard one. I'm not sure that's true. Because let's call it the hard one, the driverless one, you have to start from the beginning to perfect as best you can. Don't crash. Okay? When you're dealing with this guy over here, first thing you start out with is how well can I pump it up on TV so people will go out and buy and put on the bling? And if the bling, doesn't look good or anything, that's their problem. This is my problem. So the mindset, the whole organizational, the whole fundamentals of it has to be different. And if you take one of these guys and say, start doing this, or one of these guys and start doing that, I think, sure, they can help. They should talk. They should exchange information. It should be, together. But boy, they have fundamentally different objectives. And I think, this is what's the opportunity in the driverless. It gets, I'll get to why I think we're doing the right thing. We're trying to do this guy, the driverless piece, in a very constrained environment, Trenton, and do it there where it's manageable. This guy, the comfort and convenience, I have to make it available to anywhere in New Jersey, anywhere in California, anywhere, whatever, anywhere in the world. Oh my goodness, now I got to deal with, I have to deal with everywhere. Well, I better rely on a human who, somehow I've already sold him. I'm looking at some of these Range Rover commercials on TV. I mean, my goodness, my Range Rover, I can climb the Great Wall of China. I can go on hillsides that are like this. Oh man, I don't know if I certainly never want to do that, but I guess somebody who buys those things says, oh man, I want to do that sometime. Then, okay, fine with this, because you got a human in there. If it doesn't work, you blame it on them. Okay, whereas this guy, doesn't work, has to blame it on me, because I'm the one that did this. So if they're going to blame me, it better damn work. So I don't know if that's what led to the difficulty at GM and so on, or what could lead to a difficulty with any OEM. Because in a sense, with respect to this, if I have to start out in the Trenton, 8 square miles, and then explode it throughout the state of New Jersey, my goodness, that's going to take some amount of time. It's certainly going to take more than my quarterly reports. Whereas this guy, I can start putting those guys out there. Who cares? Just have enough disclaimers down at the bottom, buyer beware. I can do over the air updating and give you, a different version every other minute. Different mindset. And of course, I certainly hope that Cruise and GM continue to do it. I don't know if it has anything to do with going public or not going public, separating a company, not separating a company. To me, that's just, somebody, time to cash in and on a flip before I, really deliver any value out there, I guess. And sure, an OEM could evolve that. And I sure hope Ford Argo and GM Cruise, to the ones that are in that end of the business, do that. You look at Waymo's definitely, for a long time, starting back with Chris Urmson, if not before, and continuing on, dealing with this market. I'm not sure if they're wavering or not. Okay, trying to be saying, hey, we need some short-term revenue. Let's go out, make some of this in the bling and put it out there with the caveats. And Amazon Zooks, kind of hard to. Amazon Zooks, in a sense, if you're moving goods, my Amazon package does not have a chance to drive the vehicle and intervene in there and save the day. It can't be warmed. Oh my goodness, watch out. I'm, some gizmo being bad. Oh, watch out, gizmo. Again, so, they've got to be focused on making it work. Now, as we've argued, maybe they can find an operational design domain, a time in which they can do this at night, which, of course, hey, go for it. Nobody's using the roads anyway, so go use them between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. to deliver my package to my house. But anyway, sorry to put everybody through the lecture again, but these are fundamentally different markets. There are really only two of them at the intersection between one and the others. SAE's so-called level 3, even though Daimler claims we now have the German who knows what saying that we now have a level 3. Are you kidding? At the intersection right here of those two coordinates, that's a point then that I don't think anybody wants to get near, because that's no person land. Not only is it no man land, it's no woman land, it's no person land. Who's responsible? Now, granted, if you're going to do a traffic jam pilot, it really is easy. Because what is it? Just follow the car in front of you and don't hit it, and try to keep up with it so you're not, creating more of a reducing the capacity of the roadway. The car follower logics and systems are, those are the easy ones. The hard ones are the ones in which you're out there in front. All of a sudden you see something and you don't know what the heck's going on. You don't know whether it's an overpass or a parked fire truck. Boom, you hit it. That's a tough problem. To stay behind somebody and just nudge along. Of course they could do that. Is that level 3? I don't know. As soon as Daimler says, yes, I can hop in the back seat, when that's in my Mercedes and go to sleep. Okay. And if anything happens, Stuttgart is going to be responsible and will make everything whole for me. Then, I'll buy it. What are they going to have to charge me for that? I know I can't afford that. Maybe Elon can, but I can't.
Might be waiting a while before they offer that, right?
I think so. Can you imagine going to a board meeting saying, hey, we're going to accept a liability exposure to all this stuff if anything happens because I sold one to Alain and his automotive maintenance capabilities are like negative. Really? cut it out. It's not a market. I mean, anybody who would want to open up a lemonade stand like that would be told, child, no.
Moving on, I suppose.
I know. We better move on because, we'll spend all day here.
The LA Times this week ran an editorial headlined, "Slam the Brakes on Tesla's Self-Driving Madness," making ordinary drivers on public roads part of a vast experiment of the company's autonomous vehicle technology. The editorial calls for state and federal regulators to step in here.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I mean, look, if an entity is going to use public assets to test something, then they should let the public in on what the heck's going on. Okay? If Tesla wants to go test in their own track and their own property or in simulation, have a ball. Okay. But if you're going to do it using public assets, the streets, with the public out there, then at least you should make available the data. You should discuss it. There should be a discussion as to how to do this well and safely, as opposed to, oh no, I'm keeping it all and I'm just doing it, and the heck with you. Okay, so to me, it's not to say don't do it, but let's all get together and make sure that that everybody, that one isn't taking advantage of the other on this thing. There are things that you cannot possibly that you can't easily learn without actually going out and trying it and doing it. I mean, car companies have been testing cars on public roads. I'm sure Henry Ford did it, or maybe he said, well, there weren't any roads then, there were just dirt paths, and that's where we did our testing. I don't know what he said, but they've always taken cars out there. You have to, because you can't simulate it well enough. Mother Nature, has all kinds of, the change ups and curveballs and so on that she has, boy, and the only way you can, kind of see if this is going to be okay is to go out there and do it. But you can't just go out and do it, somewhat recklessly, and especially do it with a naming convention that over promises.
Talk about full self-driving, obviously.
But with the full self-driving, and I even put in there. Maybe it'd be great if Elon renamed this thing to imperfect driver assistance. IDA, imperfect driver assistance. He would become a hero immediately. A little humility here, okay?
Well, the pressure seems to be coming from everywhere, because not just the LA Times, the Washington Post has a report headline, "Tesla test drivers believe they're on a mission to make driving safer for everyone. Skeptics say they're a safety hazard." And then the Times, you've got a trifecta here. The New York Times today has a report headlined, "Public streets are the lab for self-driving experiments."
Yeah, no, everybody's jumping on, and rightly so, because he's overstepped. It's really interesting, whenever I ask my students to make presentations and so on in class, what do? They start out with like a 5-minute preamble as to how, to reduce my expectations of their presentation. They really worked hard, but they didn't feel quite well, and then they didn't have it, and they had all this other excuse. Why? To reduce my expectations of them when they finally do it, and then and because my expectations are so low, they then go do something and say, "Oh my goodness, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh my goodness, you're so wonderful." It's because they reduce my expectations. And so, their performance is here, but if my expectations are here, then they underperform. But if my expectations are down here, they overperform.
That's probably because they have to take that psychology 101 when they're
I don't know where. No, I think I don't know who teaches them in grade school or in kindergarten or whatever, but we're all the same way. We're all the same way. It's all relative to our expectations. I think I'm here talking about sociology. I know nothing about sociology. Sorry, folks, but whatever. I'm just trying to observe. If my expectations are up here and my experience is down here, guess what? I'm an unhappy camper. If my expectations are here and my realization is up here, I'm like, whoa, yay, whatever. I'm like, whatever. So Elon's been fundamentally wrong in calling this full self-driving. He's given expectations up here, and guess what? He's down here. And so people are really unhappy
a better approach. I think the phrase is under promise and over deliver. And
absolutely, Fred. Fundamental, grade school. This is lemonade stand level marketing and sales. So he should call it imperfect driver assistance. And then, and then people say, well, actually, it's really much better than that. Geez, it does this. It does all the things that the Washington Post article, the people that said, hey, this is really good. As we've argued here also, this system probably makes Tesla safer. Problem is that he's the only guy that's evaluated the data. He has chosen not to share it with me or anybody else that might be independent to take a look at it and say, hey, where is reality given these expectations that you put out there? All right. And it's a shame. He's missing an opportunity. So I'm trying to be helpful here. And in the LA Times, thing. I think it's the LA Times. They quote Brian Walker Smith saying, about the naming convention, I can call my umbrella a parachute, but it doesn't make it a parachute. I love it. I mean, looks like a parachute. Oh my goodness. Don't jump out of the airplane with, I mean, I love it, Brian.
And then there's the other thing Tesla has been hit with, and it's continuing, more reports about NHTSA investigating Tesla for allowing owners to play video games while they're driving. And that's kind of mind-boggling, isn't
it? Again, Elon could put a stop to that instantaneously with his over-the-air updating. This is not new. When I like to think that I pioneered the development of turn-by-turn navigation in cars, and and that you had to look at a map while you're driving to see, kind of where to go. And we were all about, creating graphics such that you could get the information at a glance. You glance down, get it, a couple of cognitive cycles involved in getting all the information. Key to putting out there the right information in the right way so that you could grab it quickly. And of course, in the early days, 25 years ago, 1997, remember, Fred, we did interviews on CBS radio then, 1997.
I remember riding with you,
riding with me, right? Yeah. And so on. And so, of course, where's this evolved that now that then, people made whatever inserts for the radio that had a screen where you could then display the map instead of, I recall my first drive through Europe in 1970 or something. I drove through Europe with a map on my steering wheel to kind of figure out where in the heck I was going. But now, you really do, the graphics are really important. Okay. And to put them someplace where you can get them with a glance is really important. But what happened, as soon as put screens in cars, I think maybe it wasn't Japan. I have it. And what the Japanese market do, they made now VCRs that you could put in there and watch a movie. Okay. So as you're going down the road, you have a choice. You can either watch a movie or watch Copilot and its turn-by-turn directions. Which one would you choose? I mean, man, watch that movie. Whoa, you start watching a movie instead of driving down the road. I mean, cut it out. And now play video games. Are you joking? And now, in Teslas, you can't have a screen big enough. Now one's supposed to is gonna, and of course, I mean, no, and probably screens have gotten to be way too big in cars. They'd better get some of that bling working, okay? Because they're going to kill people. And absolutely, NHTSA should come down. They should come down harder on that. That they come down on some, naming convention that might overpromise. This is real chaos.
Right. We'll be back with more, but first, this is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for a white paper called The Smart Transportation Revolution. You'll find it under the Insights and News tab. There's information there that can help you make informed decisions about investing. ETFs, you probably know, can be a smart way to spread risk with investments, maybe focus on a particular category of stocks. The website, again, is motoetf.com. Alain, we were talking about Tesla before the break, and then there's this. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, IIHS, the main independent organization conducting crash tests on vehicles, they've released the results in their latest tests on the Tesla Model Y, and it achieved the highest possible safety rating. So it's a big deal for owners there, and
they're good cars. They're good cars, and of course they've designed them well for crash mitigation. And you can look at the videos there. They've done a fabulous job, and in some sense, it's a lot easier to do a great crash mitigation. Safety aspects if you have a frunk as opposed to a 12-cylinder transmission coming through the firewall chopping your legs off. I mean, that's like a big spring you have out there to bounce, to absorb and energy absorb that whole thing. And so they've done a fabulous job, and you put in there now technology that really does automated driver assistance. And even if it's imperfect automated driving assistance, my goodness, we should all want to buy them. Okay. And it's kind of a shame that it's just a shame that Elon, and he could get it just as much press. Maybe he's getting more press on this thing because he's both bad and good, and therefore both media then will talk about it. I don't know, but come on, it's a shame. It's kudos to them and their design of the vehicle, and really, in a sense, when one looks at the technology stack that they have, the full self-driving technology stack, it really does work pretty well if it's called an imperfect driver assistance package. If you call it a full self-driving, it does this well. It's not near doing this. Well, not everywhere, not in the market where they want to sell it. I've suggested if they want to bring
it infers to the owners that they can do whatever they want and the car will take care of itself, which isn't the case.
Well, you put that in my brain and it's ugly, because I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to do goofy stuff, and guess what? I'm going to die. And then, will Elizabeth be able to go to Elon, alms for the poor here. You killed my husband. Elon will say, hey, redefine print, he's the jerk.
So
I
that's
don't know. We're trying to
it's
make fun on all this, but it's not fun. I'm
serious,
just
right?
trying. This is very serious, and I'm just trying to make sure that people realize this is not simple. And of course, I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking about our Trenton Moves thing,
Oh, we will. Yeah.
initiative, because that one is in this driverless. It is finally, an initiative that really is focused on taking advantage, using the technology here, not for basic research that you just did it for the heck of it, okay, but for the public good. One is to make mobility affordable on a cost side. It's easy, in some sense, if the cost is affordable, it's easy to make it affordable on the price side. The darn thing is, there's the article in there about Waymo not going after, the truck market and being a benefit. What is it? Benefiting the truck market.
Right. They had a blog post this week about
Yeah, give me the title.
Designed to deliver, bringing the benefits of our fifth generation hardware to trucking. And
Benefits to trucking.
Right.
I read that thing and I saw nothing in there that talked about the benefits to trucking. Okay. There are a lot of benefits to some technology or something, but no benefits to the business of trucking. They don't say there that the purpose of this is to reduce the cost of trucking. If I'm a trucking CEO, what do I want to do? I want to be able to provide more mobility for packages, better, cheaper. I guess. Why? So I can make more money. Why? So then I can deliver it, offer it at a cheaper price so that you can make more money off the goods that you're trying to move. That's the reason why sure, yeah, there's some safety, there's some environmental, sure. But fundamentally, it's a business. And there's nothing about the business in there. They don't say there that this will allow a trucking company to remove a driver. They don't even say that it will allow the trucking company to reduce their operating costs. It doesn't even say that this thing is going to improve the quality of service.
Well, you've talked about improving the quality of life for the drivers and improving the bottom line for the trucking companies by reducing insurance costs.
Absolutely. Do they mention this in there? As I've said often, I'm not a very good reader. I was an engineer. I was STEM and STEAM before there was STEM and STEAM. I'm sorry. I'm not literate. I don't, my wife is. I'm not. A people marry Z people, Z people marry A people. What can I say? But I didn't read that. They don't talk about that. They talk all about LIDAR, SMIDAR, to do ZDD. What? Who are they speaking to? Are they speaking to a trucking company CEO who's trying to put out the best service and do the best for the stockholders of the company? Or are they talking to, I don't know, investment community, regulators, pinheads in some research lab? I don't know. But my goodness, they title it. What did they title it, Fred? Say it again. They deliver benefits.
Benefits was of our fifth generation hardware to trucking is what.
Fifth generation. What is that? Are they trying to bring in SAEs level 5? I think they have even an L4 somewhere in there. They don't even call it level 4. They call it L4. What the hell is L4? What are they appealing to? Who writes this stuff? Oh my, I don't know. I guess maybe, I just try to
Well, they
do it.
talked about some of the partners that they have, JB Hunt, UPS,
Yeah,
and some others
but
using
who are they
using their
talking to in there?
drivers,
Who are they talking to
right?
in there? Anybody who they should be talking to is looking at the return on investment of this particular thing. Period. Okay. Where do they have the return on investment aspect of this? Nowhere. Okay. And I can't imagine they're maybe they're talking about they're passing out bling. Come on, Waymo, you're better than that. You're better than that. What is all the this is I mean, it's not even good public relations, my opinion. People hate me anyway. What am I gonna tell?
Alan, we do want to remind our listeners and our viewers that they should take a look at the latest newsletter, because we were talking about it a minute ago. You have information in there about the RFEI put out by the state of New Jersey this month. And the goal is to bring about the first equitable, affordable, autonomous mobility service, beginning with the city of Trenton. And people need to take a look at that, at what the state is putting out there, and hopefully get involved.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I believe we're first. This is a first in the world. I haven't seen it, or maybe I'm not reading it right, or whatever. And I'm certainly biased. I mean, talk about bias. I'm totally biased. Okay, absolutely. And maybe I even linked in there also some of our updates on our community involvement, and you could say read a couple of the vignettes in there, and ask yourself, are there any vignettes in that Waymo announcement? Oh, vignettes about LiDAR. Who cares? We assume everybody's going to assume the technologists will be able to do it. What about the sociology of this thing, which I know nothing about, but whatever, I still comment on. I'm sorry, folks.
Well, the idea here is using the technology, as you've said over and over, to do some real good, improving lives. That's what it's all about.
To me, that's what it's on. That's the benefit aspect of it. If you're going to bring this to a trucking company, tell us how my goodness, if this is on there, we will be able to not have as many logistics issues next Christmas as maybe we're having this Christmas. Although I did drive out to Sun Valley and sort of watch the Union Pacific intermodal trains going through the canyon there. I mean, boy, it's a good thing that those things are on trains and not on highways. And my goodness, Union Pacific, go do a lot more of that. And I suspect that that's a real way to remove some drivers off of the roadways and in trucking, and improve and see what you can to improve your service. And if you have 200 cars back there, you can afford a 2-person crew, and therefore, maybe you don't really need the automation, and continue to do it as you're doing it. God bless you.
Well, again, the newsletter has plenty of information about Trenton and the RFEI, and we want to encourage people to take a look at that.
The RFEI is the first step. The follow-up, we're going to do the summit in the first weekend of May, which is a key piece of that. The festival on Saturday is both to hopefully have those that have the technology as was described in Waymo, to bring it to Trenton, so that the Trentonians can have a chance to see the bling and see the stuff and kick the tires. But as what we would like to accomplish with the festival is for the technology companies to listen and talk with Trentonians to see what it is that they would like to have in terms of the mobility, the real value proposition of what all this technology is supposed to be has had its investment, the 100 billion that's been put into it. I mean, it's not just a, hang around our necks, I don't think. I mean, whoa, I mean, maybe SoftBank will have to go and borrow a whole heck of a lot more money than they're borrowing now to cover whatever, because, let's start delivering some value out of this to people. And it's hard. And let's not say we have to do it to everybody first. Let's do it to a few places. I happen to think Trenton is ideal place to start. One of the places to start. There's not just going to be one big bang of this thing. There may be many big bangs. But there has to be a big bang to get it started. Right now, it's not started anywhere. Okay. Unfortunately, Cruise in San Francisco it's moving employees without anybody in the vehicle. Well, I'm sure each of those employees has in their pocket an emergency stop button, and certainly they've been educated and trained to, in case things look dicey, to disengage, and appropriately so at this point. Okay. And the only place I know of in the world, maybe there's someplace also in China, is what Waymo has done in Chandler. Okay. The unfortunate, great, kudos, wonderful. The only problem with Chandler is that, there's nobody to help there, or very few.
There isn't the need that there is in a place like
maybe
Trenton
they should,
and the Trentons that are out there.
Maybe they should move over to an Indian reservation, or some of the other communities in Arizona where there's really a mobility challenge by people. Okay, if they don't want to come to Trenton because it might snow. Holy heck, it's raining here in LA. My goodness, it must be chaos on the 405. They have to drive in rain. I mean, I don't know. I hope not. I'm not going down there. I'm staying up here.
Well, on that note, Alain, we're going to thank our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO, and you can get more information at motoetf.com. And you can find us and that information we were talking about at smartdrivingcar.com. Also on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Amazon, wherever you get podcasts from. You can get your smart speaker to play us too. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching, and have a wonderful Merry Christmas and a great New Year.
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody. Look, when we look at, there's a lot of bad out there. There's an awful lot of good, and we've had actually a pretty darn good year, given that we're as well off as we all are, and certainly I have everything to. Hey, I can't complain about anything personally. I'm on top of the world.